Yes, Gozney. I'm Tom. Welcome to Vincenzo's. Come on in.
Hi, Vincenzo. Gangster.
Oh, I'm Tom Vincent, owner-operator of Vincenzo's Pizza here in Bushey. I create the pizzas, create the branding, training the staff, the art along the walls. Vincenzo's is my little shop. It's small, but you know, there's a lot going on here. So just before we started the shop, I got really into painting, and this is one of the ones I've done. Made the frame for it and everything. Even the walls, you can see these walls. They're found an old recipe and mixed it myself. Put it on the walls. The ceilings were all dilapidated, so I hung a new ceiling, and I wanted to add some detail in it. You know, Patsy's in Harlem, the pizzeria. There's a film called A Quiet Place, and they asked me, there's a film studios down the road, and they asked me to make pizzas for a scene where Patsy's would get blown up in the film. And I've done the pizzas for it, and this is one of the souvenirs I got from the film set. Got the latest collab, parlay. Some art by a local artist, a portrait of me. A lot of people think that's a self-portrait. I didn't do that one. Some more Sopranos-based art. People are always doing paintings and pictures of the shop, which is lovely, and people just send them to me all the time. This is the oven that I built in my garden. The first thing that I made pizza on, real good pizza, this is a coal oven that was about 3 or 5 doors down. All this was all done by me. So the only original thing in this shop is the floor. And these tiles, they just had to stay. So that's the local football team, Bushey and Oxy. Vincenzo's sponsors the team. We like to give back to the community. Okay, guys, you've seen the shop. Now let's make some pizza. I love classical music, yeah. My main motivation was to build an oven, really. I was obsessed with building things, and I wanted to make pizza. The building the oven took about 3 years of research, thinking about it, lying in bed, thinking how will it work. And I was more obsessed with that, really. And once I got the oven down, then I started making pizza at home for friends and family. And then when lockdown hit, I was obsessed with now thinking I need to open a shop. I found somewhere local where I could do a pop-up there, practicing the pizza in the garden, giving them out to NHS staff, giving them out to friends and family. And I was doing it in the wood fire oven. I decided I was going to start buy an electric oven. Whatever pizza came out of it was what I made by necessity. A bit like with the guys that came over from Italy to New York in the turn of the century. They were using wood fire ovens, but then they came over there and they found coal ovens. They didn't have 00 flour, they had bread flour. They didn't have fresh mozzarella, they made their own mozzarella. And the pizza came out differently. And that's basically what happened with my pizza. It was like, whatever happens, I know what I want to make, but however it comes out is how it comes out. And it's sort of birthed a style of pizza, I would say, which is now known as London style pizza. So this is just a classic Vincenzo's margherita. So we've got some oregano, 3 types of cheese, a bit of olive oil. I want every pizza to be perfect. But it does annoy me when there's so many going through and the oven's starting to drop temperature. Got a whole range of colours on that. See, you've got the char, you've got some deep tan, you've got some nice sort of wheaty, bready colours. That's exactly what we're after. Got some grana padano. Char is important. Char is important, but there's a fine line, The dough's the hardest part to master, because you're always learning. You're never really happy. You're always trying to tweak it and stuff like that. To make pizza, you got to have a good feeling for the dough. You got to know where to put your hands. You got to know how much pressure to apply to it and stuff like that. So it's not a job for everyone. Joe Badia. I was watching how he did his shop. He had that little shop. He was only making 40 pizzas a night. He was doing it himself, and I loved that. I liked the way his pizza looked, and I had a go at making his recipe that was in his book. I used it as a base, but I brought it just become my own thing by changing the time, the temperature, the amount of yeast. If you find a recipe you think you like, you can dial it in and scale it up, So this dough here, it's been proofing for about 24 hours. It's gonna get balled up, and then it's gonna sit in the fridge for another maybe 20 hours, then we'll pull it out about 4 hours before service. It's got some nice strength to it, looks good. If you want to get the results that I'm getting, you can use Polish, you can use Biga. What I've always done is just relied on a long bulk. If I cut through it here, look, you can see It's nice and proofy, it's got loads of air in it. It's still strong. It's got a nice charge to it, and that's what you want. Give it a rough ball up, and then later on, once I've done a bunch of them, they'll get a nice shuffle. And I think everyone who makes pizza knows that dough management can be tricky, and you know, there's variables to it. So pizza can change throughout the day. So for us, usually the last pizza of the night is the best one. And that's the one like the guys want to eat, you know, that's the one the lads want. Got to pinch these up, make sure it's sealed, nice bit of spring to it. Yeah, I always say dough needs a timeout. If you're teaching someone to make pizza and they're getting it wrong and it's going all funny shapes, the more you agitate it, the worse it'll be. But I always say, just leave it, give it a timeout. You come back to it and then they're surprised how easy it is to manage because the gluten needs to relax a little bit. You can make your dough behave differently. If it's a really humid day, it's gonna act like a wetter dough, you know? So we might fluctuate a little bit, you know? We might take the hydration down a bit in the summer and up a bit in the winter. So for new people starting out with pizza, I would probably tell them to start the hydration at a mid-level and either go up or down depending on the direction they wanna go in. Also, I would encourage them to ball up quite far in advance. You know, people come in here and they say, Tom, I'm making pizza. We balled up 3 hours before and the dough keeps stringing back. Just give the dough a timeout. If it's not doing what you want it to do, give it a timeout, you know? Sometimes I see people making a pizza and it's a funny shape and they're just fighting against the gluten network, you know? But if you leave it for 2 minutes, come back, you're gonna easily be able to just pull it around. Or just sauce it, top it. It might look funny. Once you get on that peel, it's by default, it's had its time to relax and you can just, yeah, so just be calm. Don't do anything silly and just take your time, give it a timeout. Yeah, the shop has been busy from day one. We're always up against it. It's always, the service is always crazy. It's always crammed in. The menu is just pizza that I want to eat. I always say, if you make pizza that you want to eat and people like it, then you're onto something, you know? And I like to keep it simple. But we've got 7 pizzas on the menu, there's not many. And then there's a few off menu items as well, which are sought after. Whenever I do the vodka sauce, you know, people are like asking for it, and I'll say like it's just one day within it today, but then the rest of the week everyone's asking, you got any left? You know, we do grandma's every day, but we don't put it on the menu because we've only got a few tins. It slows us down. So you could call it a Sicilian, you could call it a pan pizza. My customers know it as a grandma, so I'm going to dock the dough a little bit, so just put a few holes in it. When it rises, it's going to fill the pan. So if you don't get it in the corners, it doesn't really matter. This ain't a slice shop where it needs to be perfect. This is more of a, you know, it's gonna go on a pan, it's gonna go out to the customer, and they're gonna eat the whole thing. So not a lot of sauce, just enough, just a smear so it don't dry out. There's a few off menu items here that everyone wants. Actually put pineapple on a pizza recently. Said I'd never do it. Like, everyone loves it. Right, look at that. That's had a nice par bake on it. Bottom should be starting to get a little bit crisp. This will stop the cheese from burning because it's a longer bake. This is like maybe 10, 12 minutes bake. That can really destroy cheese. So, you know, this is how they used to do it in the old school coal oven places like Totonno's, John's of Bleecker, because those coal ovens got like a hot, dry heat. So you wouldn't want that cheese to burn. Goes back in for another, however long it takes. That's nearly done. I'm gonna go a little bit darker. Oh, that's done. Perfect. If we leave it on the tray for a minute, you know, the bottom will stay nice and crispy. Well, everyone knows the best part is the corner, isn't it? Because, you know, you've got the crunch from all the way around. So I'm gonna go for this one. It's light as a feather. Look at that, can you see all those bubbles? Nice crispy crust. The real inspiration was coal oven pizza from the east coast of America, you know, places like in New York, New Jersey, New Haven, those places. By default, you know, we don't have coal ovens. I've got an electric oven. You know, we have different ingredients. It's all crispy pizza. It's all nice, light and airy. They're all using great ingredients, but everyone's is slightly different. And I think, you know, London is giving everyone else a run for their money in pizza. For this pizza, we're doing potato, shallot, mozzarella, and we're gonna finish it with the pepperoncino. Always be careful when using a mandolin. Right, I'm gonna hit that with some salt and pepper, some oil, get them all coated, and they're dressed and ready. Got some nice lively dough today. If your dough's not very lively and you're gonna stick it in the oven when you're turning the heat down, you're never gonna get that oven spring, but there's plenty of gas in these bubbles which is just gonna react. Gonna open it up to about 14, 15 inches, give it a final stretch on the peel. Got the potatoes and the shallots dressed just a bit of olive oil, salt and pepper. They're nice and thin, they should cook perfectly. Right, the oven's on full flame. Gonna take it down a bit. Gonna take it all the way down so it doesn't burn, because we're cooking this a lot longer than you would a Neapolitan pizza. Pretty much got all the oven spring we're gonna get. It's got the rise on it. All we really want is the colour and for it to firm up now. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get too burnt on one edge, because it is a big pizza, but this arc will definitely take a 16-inch pizza, no problem. I'm really happy with how that's come out, but if I wanted to like cook it even longer without burning it, what you could do is you could just turn it off and just let it sit in there a couple of minutes. So you just turn it all the way down to 0. Now there's no flame, but the residual heat will just keep it cooking and crisp it up, and you can just, it's like a safe way of cooking it without burning it. You'll get a much harder bake on it with the residual heat. Pepperoncino with some olive oil. I'm just gonna drizzle it on to finish off. Hit it with some grana padano. So this is my pizza with potato, shallots and pepperoncino in the Gozney arc. Right, so cooking it in the arc and dropping the temperature on it will create the same sort of effect that you get at Vincenzo's in the shop. As you can see, it's crispy as anything, beautiful bottom, and just cooked all the way through, lovely. Making pizza is one of the most fun jobs ever, you know? There's the business side of it, no, you know, it's really draining, it's really tiring, but when you're here, you're making pizza, people are coming in the shop, and there's always a buzz in this shop, you know? It's inspiring every day, and I'm hoping to get a new shop, you know, soon, so a bigger one, so I'm already thinking about how I'm gonna decorate it, what I'm gonna do, you know, what sort of like dough management are we gonna have, you know, what will it be like, and yeah, I'm keen to like, yeah, it's inspiring every day, yeah, it really is.